I want to tell you about the time I went to prison. And I know before you get all excited about it, I didn't go to prison in, like, the really cool way. Like, I wasn't, like, a man pushed too far or whatever. Like, I only went to prison for, like, 4 or 5 hours. But I've still totally been to prison. Here's what happened. I was out with my friends just, like, partying, like, drinking and stuff. And, like, to be fair, like, a lot of people's stories of how they end up in prison start exactly in that way. So I'm out with my friends, we're, like, joking around. For whatever reason, from out of nowhere, I just go, like, hey, you guys, wouldn't it be really funny if I did a comedy show in prison? And my friends were like, oh my God, that's hilarious. They'd kill you. And, like, you guys could see, like, I've been out here for a little while now. You could see how me going to prison might not be the best idea. Soft skin and all. But anyway, we're laughing about it, and I wake up the next day, and I'm still laughing about it, and I'm thinking, like, you know, it'd be really funny. I should call a prison and book a show. That would be even funnier. And I live here in New York City, so I ask around to find out what prisons are convenient to my apartment. And it turns out there's a prison just north of the city, about 30 miles, called Sing Sing. Do you know it? It's a very reputable, very prison-y prison. And so I Google Sing Sing phone number, and it comes up right away. I would have thought that would have been out there on, like, more of a need-to-know basis or whatever, but it comes up right away. And I call Sing Sing, like, hello, Sing Sing. And I say, I'd like to speak to the comedy booker, please. And the line goes quiet, and there's, like, some mumbling in the background. They put someone else on, and they're like, hello, can I help you? And I say, yes, this is Dave Hill from Show Business. And they say, of course, Dave, how can we help you? And I'm like, I want to come up there and give your inmates the show of a lifetime. And I would have thought they would have been like, well, how soon can you get here? But it turns out, like, in prison, they have all sorts of, like, stuff going on. Even aside from, like, the prison-y stuff, they're very busy. You can't just, like, show up whenever you want. So we end up booking the show for, like, 6 weeks in advance. And I hang up the phone, and I call my friends from the night before, and I tell them about it. And we're all laughing about it. And we're, like, telling our other friends about it. And everyone's like, oh, my God, that's so funny. I even put this show, I listed it on my website. And the prison people called me. They were like, oh, Dave, we noticed you have the Sing Sing show listed on your website. Like, you know, like, not just anybody can come to this show. They have to have done something really horrible. And I was like, it was just for cred. Come on, you don't have to be a dick about it. And they're like, all right, you can leave. And I'm like, all right, cool. And so back to laughing. And then finally, about a week before the show, I realized, like, wait a minute, this isn't funny at all. This is like a horrible prank that I'm playing on myself. And I'm like, oh my God, like, I don't want to go to prison. Like, I was visiting my parents at the time, like, Mom and Dad, I don't want to go to prison. They're like, well, you said you're going to prison. And I was like, I'm just going to call prison, tell them I'm not coming. That'll do it. But before I can, I get an email from the Sing Sing people, and they're like, Dave, we're just checking to make sure you're coming next week. All the guys are really excited to see you. And I was like, oh, shit, now I gotta come. And, like, I forgot to mention this earlier. When I booked the show, they asked me to send a photo to them so they can make a poster to hang around the prison, you know, drum up some excitement that Dave was coming to town. And I intentionally sent them literally the gayest photo I had of myself, because I was like, oh, that'll be really funny. But I'm like, oh, that's not funny at all. Like, now these guys know what I look like, and these are, like, really irritable people. And some of them might be getting out soon, you know. So I write back, I'm like, all right, I'll be there, but, like, I kind of want this to go well. Can you tell me what to expect? And they write back, they're like, oh, yeah, so far 250 inmates have signed up for your show, and they're all maximum security violent felons. And they really like jokes about being in jail, and their favorite comedians are the Wayans brothers, Cat Williams, Cedric the Entertainer, basically guys that do the same thing as me. And I'm like, okay, great. And then they write, they will no doubt be your toughest crowd. And then they put, like, a smiley face emoticon just to, like, fuck with me or whatever. And I'm like, oh, man, this sucks. And so I spend the next week freaking out. Finally, the day of the show rolls around. And originally I was going to go to prison by myself. But at the last minute, I decided to bring some friends with me, you know, in case anything happened. They could, like, tell my story or whatever. So I bring my friend Carl, my friend Laura, a couple comedians, and my friend Clark, and we drive up to Sing Sing, and we get to Sing Sing, and Sing Sing ends up being this, like, it's a really old prison, like, it's like really old-timey, like, prison movie. It's like, looks like, have you ever seen The Green Mile? Yeah. It's like this cool old prison. So the guards are leading us in, and I'm like, you guys got a really cool prison here. And they're like, you're a fucking idiot. This is like hell on earth. It's like, I'm just trying to make conversation. And then they lead us into the auditorium. We set up, and the inmates start coming in. There ends up being 300 inmates at the show, and they're really prison-y guys, like muscles and like face tattoos, like matching outfits, the whole deal. And I come on stage, and normally, like, when I do a show, I don't try to, like, tailor my material for this specific audience, think what they might like. But in this case, I was like, I'll make an exception. And I ended up writing a monologue for that show, and the gist of it was, like, if I ever ended up in Sing Sing, like, would I wind up, being anyone's bitch? And they loved it, because they were like, oh, Dave, we would fuck the shit out of you. They loved it. So it was going really well, and I was having, like, the best time in prison. Like, I don't know what these guys had done before, but they were delightful. And I'm totally relaxing and everything. I'm like, I should probably do, like, a bit of crowd work. And so I say, like, who here's from out of town? And they're like, oh, we get it. That's pretty funny. And then I say, who came from farthest away today? And they're sort of like not really reacting. But then there's this guy, like, right in the front row, kind of where you are. And he slowly raises his hand, and he goes, I'm from Kansas City. And this is my favorite thing I said in prison. I said to him, did you always want to live on the East Coast? Or did it just work out that way? They didn't like that at all. They didn't like, and they were like, motherfucker, like, even violent felons have feelings. I was like, oh, sorry. And, like, I finally, like, won them over. We got back to a good place with them, and I decided I would bring my friends out to do some sets. So my friend Carl Arnheiter came out, and he did a set, and it went great. And then Laura Kraft came out, and Laura's hilarious and beautiful, and she's got this gorgeous red dress on, and she walks on stage, and she starts performing, and it's going really well, but at one point, a few minutes into the thing, she kind of gestures to me like, I'm getting out of here, And I guess what happened is you ever see, like, in a Bugs Bunny cartoon, when one character hasn't eaten in a really long time, and then they look at another character, and that character looks like a pork chop or like a turkey drumstick or whatever. Like, she had that feeling, like, times 300 or whatever. So I was like, Laura Kraft, everyone. And she, like, walks off the stage, and she goes, sits down on the side of the stage, and she's, like, very obviously upset. And at Sing Sing, they had assigned this huge prison guard to us in case anyone, tried to do anything prison-y to us in prison. And he sees that she's very upset. And this is my favorite thing that happened in prison. He walks over to her and says, are you okay? And Laura says, yeah, I just got a little scared out there. And he's like, you know why you got scared, don't you? And Laura thinks that he's going to have some sort of insight into the human psyche or whatever. And this is my favorite thing that happened. Laura's like, why did I get scared? And the guy just goes, those guys are all murderers and rapists. And Laura didn't think that was funny at all. But I thought it was the funniest thing I'd ever heard in my life. I'm like, oh my God, I'm having so much fun in prison. Like, it's like good times all the time in prison. This is the best. I never want to leave. So I go on stage and I do like another half an hour of time and I say goodnight. And the guys all give me a standing ovation. They're like, Dave, Dave. They're clapping, they're chanting, Dave, Dave, Dave. And like, I know I always look for approval in the wrong places, but it was like the best feeling. Like, until you've had a standing ovation in prison, it's honestly the best feeling I've ever had in my life. So I'm just like, oh my God, this is so great. And then they lead the inmates out and they put them back in their cells and they lead me and my friends out through the cell blocks and the inmates are still like, Dave, Dave, Dave. They're chanting. I'm like, oh my God, this is so cool. And then we go outside. We're in the parking lot and the inmates are like, hanging out their windows and they're like, Dave, Dave. And like, Laura's like, come on, I want to get out of here. I'm like, Laura, just because you're not having a good time in prison doesn't mean we have to leave prison when you want to leave prison. And so I'm like, all right, let's go. And we get over to the car, and I'm about to get in the car, and this is the sweetest thing. This inmate looks at me, and he just goes, thanks a lot, Dave. We'll see you next year. And I was like, all right, I guess I'll go do whatever the fuck I want right now. Anyway, if you ever get the chance, go to prison. It's a delight. I don't know if you've heard in the past.